Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone, keep the pressure real heavy. Big hits, big plays, yeah, we breaking it down. Truth rings in your speakers, every word is the crown. From the north side hustle to that southern flame. Midwest grind, west coast of the game. Sports talk kings, yeah, we wear that crown. Turn it up, let them know it's about to go down. Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chaser, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout.
It's about to go down.
You are now listening to the sounds of Sports Reports as Ordered. Mr. Logical and 2-5 are here. We got some NFL reaction for you. We got some college football reaction. There's a lot going on in the college football world, ladies and gentlemen. You know, be sure to tune in tomorrow night for our NBA preview. But first things first, like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things with a Liquid Death in your hand. And if you can't get a Liquid Death, throw you some Liquid Death hydration in your water. So, Mr. Logical, there was a lot going on this weekend. And, you know, I am never the kind of guy that talks about how the NFL is rigged or anything like that. But I was sitting there and I'm watching the Broncos getting blanked at home. Then all of a sudden, they scored 33 points in the fourth quarter on the night that they're honoring, or the day that they're honoring Demaryius Thomas, rest in peace, you know, who passed away tragically at 33 years old. And I was like, something may be afoot.
They got the ball back with 33 seconds.
Something must be afoot here. You know what I mean? So, but before I don't even want to dig too deep into that. I just want to know.
I just think it's hilarious. I was about to go in, but we just started the show.
I just want to know, are the Broncos a contender or a pretender?
Nah, I wouldn't say they're a contender just because I think they're inconsistent offensively. I think they're good defensively, but like you see, you know, the touchdown that Jackson Dart's touchdown that bounced off of Waddle Robinson and Theo Johnson caught it for a touchdown. You can't defend that. And on top of that, Robinson was open. Like, it hit his hands. So even a good defense is going to give up plays on the back end. You just got to be a little more consistent offensively. I think Bo Nix, you know, shout out to Rez. Shout out to S. Morgana. What up? We in the building. Y'all ready for the merch? Yeah, we ready. We'll talk. We're gonna lay out the plans next week. Not mean at our event, but shout out S. Morgano brand. Check them out. Instagram. Anywhere you get your fashion, you want to start there first. But yeah, he had like a bunch of passes batted down at the line. I think he missed some easy throws. And once again, like I said, you know, it's not me. It's just Sean Payton makes it so easy not to like him that I can't root for him. I mean, like, he took the shot at Russ for no reason. It's like, Russ didn't put you in a position where he strong-armed you personally. He came to the team from a trade. The team hired an inept coach to coach him. They gave him a big deal. You came in and just flat out didn't like him. Y'all didn't vibe. It is what it is. But for you to constantly keep taking shots at this man, and I saw the tweet from Russ. I don't know how like official it is because I know this AI stuff is everywhere. But I feel him. He was like, yo, you still bounty hunting me through the media. So that in of itself for me shows like how ill prepared Sean Payton is. We talk about the pass interference call. He runs down into when the Giants got the ball and they were going to take the lead and touchdown. He runs down into the referee huddle, gets unsportsmanlike. Now, what if one of the other refs was trying to get him to wave the flag off? But he already came in, hair on fire. They got the 15-yard penalty. So either way, like, the Giants would have ended up with a first down anyway. Just like that kind of stuff is like, that's just selfish, and it's a temperament, and it's just arrogance. And that's why I don't like him, and that's why I think his team is a pretender.
Yeah, so I'm kind of in the middle because I think the Broncos have, well, I was going to say they have just about everything you need, but that run game needs some work. And of course, come January, especially playing in Denver, depending on if they're playing at home or not, you got snow to worry about, winds, all those kind of things. And Bo Nix is already inconsistent as it is.
Yeah,
And,
you can't just rely on him making plays with his legs against a team like the Giants had them on the ropes.
right.
And shout out to Denny Green who let him off the hook. But
well,
that's what it boils down to. Is like sometimes you got to keep it simple.
well,
And the Jackson Dart interception was a gift.
Bo Nix reminds me a lot of Caleb Williams, and they both remind me of myself. We can only function when there's chaos. If everything is aligned, organized, looks good, there's a lot of indecisiveness because it's too perfect. It's too good to be true. But if you put us in the middle of a storm, we're going to make things happen. And I don't think that you can survive as a quarterback that way, because he's missed some throws this year, left points on the board for his team, so that's number one. Their
That
defense.
many passes get knocked down when you're like, I think he's like what, 6'2" or 6'3", probably listed. Like getting that many passes
He's
knocked down at
probably
the line of
not.
scrimmage.
Yeah, and
He's
then
taller than Bryce Young.
but everybody's taller than Bryce Young in the NFL.
I'm
But
taller than Bryce Young.
but I also think that as good as their defense is, and as good as I came into this season thinking that their defense was going to be, it's been a little disappointing. When you just look at the number of points that they've given up this year, including to the Giants, who you're never going to think of as an offensive juggernaut. They make broken plays work. Jackson Dart has been impressive with his poise, or as you would say, his moxie. Nothing gets him down. He's not pressured. He just thrives. So
It's,
I think
it's
that
wonderful
Denver.
what happens when you have the full support of the coach, the offensive coordinator, the owner, the grandfather, the actresses that are like everybody supporting.
Walmart,
Yeah, you're locked in. Russ
everything. But
had he was just like, yeah,
no,
it's
Russ was
amazing what you
just
can do.
bad. But
Yeah.
of course, you see the thumbnail, so we got to get into it. The Colts went back to LA where they had lost their only game in the season. They played the other LA team and they won that game pretty emphatically. So are we looking at the Colts as the real deal, or are they the beneficiaries of their schedule right now?
Nah, I think the Chargers they're injured. I wasn't really riding that every single year. Every single year the Chargers are like but like the sleepy Super Bowl AFC champion, AFC West. Like every year is like that's like the stamp of approval they get. And I think a couple of injuries shown like, okay, your team can't always sustain and make it through that, no matter how good or how physically gifted your quarterback is. I think the Colts do a great job of just managing the game, managing the flow, using the run game. They use it probably more effectively than any of the other teams. I think Daniel Jones on this Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield kind of trajectory where you just kind of got cast off and you were like the fall guy at another organization. That organization think they can move on, do better without you. But now you out here thriving. It's like when a dude gets dumped and then all of a sudden he starts to work out. He got a sleeve tattoo, got a new job, and his ex-girlfriend's like, yo, what happened? Was I holding you back? And it's like, yeah. I think they were holding him back. And I think the Colts are like, listen, we needed you to make this move. We're going to probably talk about the Jets. I'm pretty sure the Jets organization is looking around like, yo.
I don't know if I want to talk about the Jets.
Well, I mean, you have to. It's so close to where I live, and it's like you got to talk about it. But I think the Colts are for real. Shout out to my pops. It's his favorite team. I think they're for real because, like I said, I think they control the game. I don't think they try to do too much. I think they're young offensively. And another thing that comes with this, the owner, like she took over for when her father passed. She's like literally on the sideline, really getting into the not just the business part up in the booth, but like on the ground. Like, what does this mean? What does cover 3 mean? What does this mean? what happens when this guy gets pulled out, like all these things that are happening on the field. She's on the sideline with the headset. So it's like having that kind of connection. She's like shaking hands with the players. I think it just feels better. I know I'm facts over feelings, but the fact is they're 6-1. They're playing good football. And they're in a conference, they're in a division where it's like you might run away with it.
Yeah, so I'm going to answer this in two parts, you know what I'm saying, just because I'm difficult, right? So they are contenders for the number 1 seed. They are pretenders if we're talking about Super Bowl. From the standpoint of they have a lot of flaws that haven't been exploited yet because of who they've played. So I'm not doing the thing where it's like, they had an easy schedule, so they're not that good. No, I do believe that they are a very good team. I just think that there's not a lot of teams that they've played yet that can expose them. So what I mean by that is, they've had secondary troubles, including injuries, but you're playing against Herbert without Joe Alt. Rashawn Slater was already out. Mekhi Becton gets hurt. The game was in hand when he got hurt, but just anyway, then you got Tennessee, the Cardinals, where Jacoby Brissett has come in and played better than Kyler Murray did, at any point this season. So I just don't think the Colts have ran into that resistance yet. And they're playing against Tennessee again this weekend coming up. So when we get to the playoffs, I think there will be a whole season of data to where we can go, all right, let's see if Daniel Jones can really beat us. Let's see if he can beat this elite team, because we're not going to let Jonathan Taylor just go crazy. And and realistically, shout out to Jonathan Taylor. He should probably be getting MVP consideration this year as well. You know what I mean? But we know running backs, they don't tend to
he'll get offensive player of the year.
So I do think that the Colts are a very good team. I would consider them for real for the time being. I just want to see it in the playoffs from the standpoint of, I think that you're going to match up with these coaches that have experience. Your Mike Tomlins, and then you have Aaron Rodgers now. Not that he's great, but he's experienced. You're going to go up against Buffalo, who always feels like, hey, if Kansas City wasn't here, we would be there. You got to deal with Kansas City. And I know Colts fans, like our guy Lethal, will tell me, we own Kansas City. Alex Smith ain't playing. You know what I'm saying? What happened in 2017 doesn't matter this year.
Larry Johnson ain't playing.
Yeah, but I have to say,
Bob
I am
Sanders
impressed
not coming out the tunnel.
And last thing, I think that Shane Steichen is going to cost the Colts a few games before the season is over, because he's the product of this new NFL. You got a 2-touchdown lead, 9 minutes left. You're still throwing the ball, instead of giving it to the league's leading rusher.
First downs in those situations run off 82 minutes. Just a first, if you run 3 plays and get a first down, if they don't stop the clock, like especially at 7, 8, 9 minutes, I don't think they're calling timeouts. So you can go from 9 minutes to 5 if you just get 2 rushing first downs. Even if you call a pass play, just have Daniel Jones keep it, run, get 4 yards, slide.
Call a bubble.
You can kill 4 minutes if you just get 2 first downs. It's 40 seconds in between plays. The ball's on the ground. You're eating 3. Like, you don't have to get big plays. 3.5 yards per play, first, second, and third down is the first down. That's 2 minutes gone. It's just, I don't understand why coaches don't understand this basic math. Dable, Shanahan in the Super Bowl. It's like every week you see it, and it's like they try to outsmart for what? Just burn these time, either burn these timeouts or run this clock.
All right, so LA Rams, contender or pretender?
You'd have to say contender in the NFC, because I think there's just not that many teams that you could put ahead of them. I mean, you got the 49ers. It's always difficult in division. I think Tampa Bay has too many close victories. That whole Minnesota Vikings run they had a couple of years ago with Kirk Cousins, the
And now Mike
Kansas City
Evans out
Chief
for the
last
season.
year. Mike Evans is out. They just keep getting these types of injuries that are like they're not losing a guard or a linebacker or a safety, and you have to replace them because you could probably. I'm not saying like the starting safety for the team isn't a valuable piece, but you could probably insert someone on that person's caliber. You could probably pull them from another team, your own practice squad, just your own scheme, and fit it in. But having wide receiver injuries, and as much as they throw the ball, and Baker's throwing, 40 times a game, you need fresh wide receivers. So yeah, I don't see them as much of a threat. I like Dallas, but their defense can give up too many points. You
Well,
can't
it's
just
interesting
expect to
that you
win
bring up
shootouts.
Dallas. It's interesting that you bring up Dallas because they go out to Mile High this weekend, and that's going to be a game that decides a lot. I mean, obviously it's early in the season, but it'll just show us something going forward, I believe. As far as the Rams go, I think you have to say contender just because if their quarterback is upright, there's not many other quarterbacks that you want to close out a game, to have to lead a game-winning drive if necessary. The one thing that I will say, though, I wasn't going to bring this team up for a contender pretender, but I'm really digging Seattle's defense right now. You know what I mean? So if Sam Darnold can just control the ball and not do stupid things, Seattle could find themselves in a contender situation because a team that I love, Green Bay, I was on them early, picking them to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I don't know what Green Bay is right now.
they
I just don't know what they are.
I don't know if they're exceptional anywhere. And I think contenders, you have to be exceptional somewhere. Like either your defense has to be elite, your quarterback play has to be elite.
Well,
Something
if
has to
nothing
like when
else, they
you
got a
walk the
clutch
field.
guy. They got a clutch guy that gets the sack that you need with the game on the line, if nothing else.
Yeah. So if you have to be able to walk into the field and the other team can look over it and really look and be like, yeah, that defensive line is elite. We're gonna have to game
So
plan for it. And I don't think Green Bay really ushers
so
that
that
kind of
brings up an
energy
interesting
onto the
question.
field.
So that brings up an interesting question. This wasn't a part of my original questions, that I was going to ask you. But now that we've had a few weeks of data with Green Bay, is it Jordan Love? And I know that Josh Jacobs made the comment in the offseason about we need a number one wide receiver. Are they just missing Jaden Reed that much?
Well, when you have a collective, you kind of need all of them to be there. Because once some teams can survive off just system, we talked about it with the Patriots in the early 2000s. Tom Brady was the architect of the system. I'm gonna put you in the game, and your job as a slot wide receiver on these routes to be here. That's I don't care what your talent level is. You got to get open here. I'm gonna get you the ball. Tight ends, I need you working the seams or being able to block backside so I can hit this deep over. Like he had it all kind of down packed. With Green Bay, because they're kind of riding the touchdown scoring capability of Josh Jacobs and his physicality, you need all of your wide receiver horses all the time in order for Jacobs to be able to get the space that he needs. It's partly why Philly is having success, even though it doesn't look the same as it did last year. It's because Saquon's not having the same kind of year, but they still can drop back and throw it to AJ, Devontae, Dotson, Goddard, and even Saquon out of the backfield. They still
And oh,
have
by the
those
way, they just
pieces.
got Brandon Graham out of retirement. Embarrassment of riches, but I don't know what Green Bay is. I'm interested because, of course, they go to Pittsburgh this weekend. So Aaron Rodgers against the Packers. That should be fun. So if we don't see the best of Jordan Love in that game just because of storyline and principle, then, I don't know when it's going to come. But last team before we move on, New England Patriots, first place in the AFC East, contender or pretender?
Contender for the division. I think that'll be fun. I'd probably be one of the more competitive divisions to watch between them and Buffalo because Buffalo still has Superman wearing 17. I'm liking the young quarterbacks, putting themselves in position. We talk about Chicago. They got 4 wins in a row. Drake May, I think he had like 3 or 4 games in a row, over 100 passer rating and like 3 or 4 touchdowns or something like that. So he's having a great year. I think Vrabel is really showing NFL owners how important it is to hire a good coach, not just a guy with the good philosophy, like someone who actually can
Hey, I'm the
coach
Mike Vrabel guy.
Coach what they say. Like I said, I didn't think they were going to have enough weapons, but if you get guys to buy in and they're winning through the physicality that Mike likes to coach by, like he's a real Patriot guy. I know they tried with Gerard Mayer. I'm not saying he wasn't, but it's just something about what he's doing with this team. I like it. Like I said, I like it for its competitive nature because we've seen the AFC East be New England's conference for a decade and a half, almost 20 years, almost every year. I think a couple of years sprinkled in there, somebody else, each them out by like a game. And then it was going to be Buffalo. They were going to run away with it. You see what's going on in Miami. You see what's going on in East Rutherford. So it's like, or Fordham Park or wherever they play or wherever they practice. So it's good that we have, this Foxborough, Buffalo, kind of, I don't say rivalry, but like competitiveness to it because, I was watching First Things First and they were like, the season's up and down, it's only 7 weeks in. But they said something interesting. They're like, who are you picking out of AFC that can really dethrone the Chiefs as AFC champion? We thought it was a different team early in the year, but now as these 7 games have played out, it's like they might really be, creme de la creme. So it'd be good to see New England like really keep playing. It's like, okay, hey, New England might have a shot because the last thing you want is a lack of parity early in the season because there's so many teams that are doing so poor. Like the Ravens are doing poor, the Jets are doing poorly, Cleveland's terrible, Miami's like all these teams. It's like you guys aren't even competing with the upper echelon teams. So it's like 5 or 6 teams that is completely out of it, and it's only 16 teams. So it's like you're down to 10. Some of them are going to be middle of the pack. So you have 4. So like 5 through 10 are going to be, it's going to be your, like what team? Like your Pittsburgh's going to be mixed in there. Cincinnati's going to get a little buzz. It'll be kind of mixed in there. But your top 4 teams can't have a gap where it's Kansas City and everybody else is kind of just fighting for second place.
Yeah, I think the Patriots, I'm going to go with pretender, just in the sense that I don't think that they can go to or win the Super Bowl. They could be the young team that gets somebody just off of philosophy. Drake May is not yet, I guess, he doesn't have what Joe Burrow had the year that the Bengals made their Super Bowl run. So as great as he has been so far this season, there comes a point where he's going to need somebody to make a play that he doesn't have. Ramondre Stevenson has to hold on to the ball. That's first and foremost or all of that is irrelevant anyway.
Yeah.
So, but I think the Patriots will be around to stay. Like they're announcing themselves right now. But, I don't think that they have any prospects as far as they're going to make a run to the AFC Championship game or something along those lines. So with all that being said, Mr. Logical,
yeah,
we had week 7 this week. I see the tape is back on the hat. So what did you see in week 7?
This is what I see in week 7. This is what I saw in week 7 in 2017 and week 7, 2021, and week 7 every single year with my squad. I'll watch another game, and Atlanta having 2 primetime games back-to-back weeks. I can't recall the last time that happened. So that's a bonus. I'm really excited for that. So hopefully, I wish they would have capitalized on it by winning both games, and then that way I can get my games on TV every single week. Like, these other fans get to enjoy. I saw a play in the Denver Giants game where Tyrone Tracy took a handoff, and the way the play was schemed up, he just had a wide open hole break to the end zone. I watched another play last night where who was it? I think it was
So we had Tampa,
Jahmyr
Detroit,
Gibbs.
Seattle, and
Yeah,
Reggie
Jahmyr
Bush.
Gibbs took a stretch to the left, and the Detroit offensive line washed the whole thing down. And when he cut back, he's 8, 9, 10 yards down the field before he even has to make a move on a linebacker. And I know Bijan had the 81-yard touchdown run, but he had to like jump cut through a guy who got in the backfield to get that run. I just want to see Atlanta be able to just move the line of scrimmage to where these runs are easier. Be more creative with the play calling, because we know from the pistol, it's either hand off to Bijan or you're going to motion him out, you're going to throw it to him. There's just, you have a left-handed quarterback. They don't
I
call
was going
any
to ask
plays
how
for
we
him to
feeling about
roll
him.
left. I look at it like this. He is only 9 games in as a starter. He had 3 last year, 6 this year. So essentially he's in the middle of his rookie season. But the play calling in these moments where, listen, we need to sustain a drive. We can't just go back to Bijan break a tackle, get 8 yards. Bijan break a tackle, get the 4 yards. So now we have a first down. Bijan go catch this slant. All right, Drake, run this curl. Like it just feels like it's Bijan, somebody else. Bijan, somebody else. Tyler comes in the game. They just hand the ball off to him. It's like everyone knows when he's in the game, you're not throwing it to him in the flat. You're not throwing many screen passes. And if you call, like, you're going to call multiple running plays because he's the bruising back. You still have other wide receivers. I just feel like they don't employ all the guys on the field. So it's just frustrating to watch. And then, you have rookie mistakes with like the intentional grounding when he didn't get outside the pocket. Get him on the edge. You have an offensive line that's always just basically just giving up pressures. Get them on the edge. Give them an easy throw. But yeah, so that's the main piece. I don't like the Zach Robinson play calling. I think it's just very mundane. Jahmyr Gibbs and Bijan Robinson are very similar runners, but they don't get the same kind of space up front. Like if Bijan could just get one of these plays where the line just literally washes out the defensive line. It should happen once or twice a game to where you got a guy with that kind of talent in space, gets a cut back, and it's him and a linebacker in space instead of him like wiggling through and breaking tackles and then they got to outrun a guy. Like, get him an easy play. And it seems like the plays aren't built up that way. They don't have the personnel to do it. They have a bunch of tight ends that don't catch. I can go on. They have no middle, hence why they kept running McCaffrey right up the gut because, like I said, they have 275-pound guys playing like defensive tackles. And Kyle Shanahan was like, cool, I'm not running these zone stretch plays anymore. I'm running it right up the middle. And they ran up the middle all game long.
So what I learned is that prosperity is not the Falcons' friend. And I mean, I kind of knew that already because even when we did our preview the other night, the first thing I said was, if you know the Atlanta Falcons history, they're going in their 2-game win streak, going against this broken team. This is a spot that the Falcons lose in.
That's the best part to piss me off. Is like, we're healthy. Use the healthy bodies, and they don't do it.
And this is the thing, right? San Francisco, when I look at them, like, if you ever feel sad about life, down and depressed, and feel like you don't have anything, just watch the 49ers. They overcome adversity like nobody else, But another thing I took away from this weekend, we've been doing a lot of focusing on Tua. And, rightfully so. He's throwing pick after pick after pick. I don't think Kyler Murray going to be in Arizona next year. Just looking at the command that Jacoby Brissett has of that offense, how much better flowing it looks. And not saying that Jacoby's going to be the starter, but you know what I mean? But I think he's done in this town unless, Gannon is gone, because I just don't see what he brings to the table outside of he's very fast. Now, that's not to say that he doesn't have a strong arm or any of those attributes that you want in a quarterback. For whatever reason, it just doesn't work in that way. But here's another question for you, Mr. Logical. And I'm kind of being facetious, but I'm not really being facetious.
Okay.
Would you take Dylan Gabriel over Justin Fields?
No. No. I mean, I just wouldn't, because I think if you took the Philadelphia Eagles post Carson Wentz transition to Jalen Hurts playbook and said, Justin, do this, I think he can do it. I'm not sure like what you can get out of Dylan Gabriel. Like I said, I don't think his arms. We're watching Tua, and Tua's going to be the cautionary tale for Dylan Gabriel. It's like, listen, there's only so much you can do with an undersized guy that's not elite anywhere. You can have a great like eye for the game, student for the game. That's going to make you a great backup to a guy who has a great arm and great like physical talent. They don't have that much time. The coaching turnover is likely in Cleveland because they don't seem to really have like a grip on what they're going to do going forward. So if I'm rolling in there, I'm not going to be like, cool, I'm running with the undersized quarterback going forward. But I think if Justin Fields was there, you're like, you know what? If I can get him to throw the ball 24 times and throw it on time,
so
it might be all right.
So we did see a glimpse, that's the right word, a glimpse of Quinn Ewers this weekend. But one of my takeaways, another takeaway that I had this weekend is I hate when teams change leadership. They do great things, but there's still some stench left. So, back in the day, this team on this sign right behind me, they went and got Albert Hainsworth, gave him $100 million. They brought in Adam Archuleta, and Washington kind of became this is where gangsters, they don't die. They just get chubby and move to Miami, and then we turn around, right? And we signed we trade for Marshawn Lattimore last year. And Marshawn Lattimore is either Brandon Stevens in 10 years or he's Brandon Stevens right now. And, George Pickens had this man on the sideline contemplating his whole life, after this weekend. Jaden Daniels is hurt. Got to go to Arrowhead on Monday night. Whew, it's going to be a long season. But Jalen Hurts has found the deep ball. He went out and combined Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown with 13 catches between them. So, Mr. Logical.
Let's calm down.
I was going to ask you, did the real Eagles just stand up?
No, let's calm down.
Okay.
Because I know if was a fifth, we all be drunk. A.J. Brown had 4 catches for 121 yards. He got 2 of those catches in about 70. No, he got like 2 of those 3.
Yeah, that was the one that closed the game.
Yeah, so the last 3 catches were the big ones. So you had the third down conversion, then you had the seam route touchdown, and then you had the sluggo where he just ate Carlos Rogers up. But if that third down pass, Isaiah Rodgers, my bad. If that third down pass is incomplete, he doesn't get those other 2 opportunities, and he's not screaming in the camera, that's why you throw me the fucking ball. Instead, he's in the locker room, because I think Philly still wins, because I think Carson Wentz has the awareness of a blind duck. Because he was standing there and get sacked. I think Philly would have still won. Philly would have punted that ball. Carson Wentz would have got a intentional grounding or a sack on third down, and then it would have been 4th and 25, and you can't go for it. You got to punt it back. So I think Philly still wins that game. But without those 3 catches, he has 1 catch, albeit for a touchdown, but he would have 1 catch, and Philly would have won the game probably by, a field goal or so. And he would have been in front of the microphones all pissed off. And Devontae Smith had 183 yards and 9 catches. So it would have been 9 catches for 183 yards versus 1 catch. He'd be traded today.
All right. So
Philly is on our way back.
I'm going to read you some stats real quick, and you tell me what I'm talking about.
All right.
30 first downs to 3. 434 total yards to 95. 42 minutes time of possession. And one team, I said, had 30 first downs. The other team ran 30 total plays. What am I talking about?
You're talking about the Chiefs.
Holy crap.
I told you, like I said, I told you after the Jacksonville game, they look like they have a plan, and it's all about execution. So even in that Jacksonville game, Hollywood Brown catches that pass that hits him in the shoulder. The Chiefs are on a win streak.
Well, we don't trust Hollywood Brown on Sports Reports as ordered.
Well, listen, he's had a couple touchdowns this year. Like I saw when he got his first one, like his first one since 2023. I was like, are you kidding me? This dude's out here catching 2 or 3 touchdowns a week every once in a while. Like you didn't have one for 2 seasons. I know you have injuries, but you did play in some games. So, like I said, the Chiefs, I don't say they're all the way back, but they look like, hey, this is going to be our formula that we've had before. Rashee Rice, I know the suspension just came back, but let's keep it real. I don't know if he would have been ready to play until this week anyway. Lower leg injuries for wide receivers. We see it all the time. Guys come back too early, and they will say he's getting his footing underneath. He's getting back into it, getting back into game speed. And they normally turn around like mid-October and really break out. Like if the injury, whatever injury they had, I think Adrian Peterson was the anomaly when he came back from his ACL surgery he had on New Year's, and then opening day was like, off and running. But for the most part, those guys take a month anyway. So his suspension, that's probably why they didn't appeal it. It was like, well, we knew he's not going to be ready until mid-October anyway. I think the NFL just did Kansas City a favor by just giving him the 6-game suspension because he wasn't going to play anyway. Save Kansas City a little bit of money.
So, speaking of teams, I made the comment earlier that the Falcons and prosperity isn't their friend. How about the Carolina Panthers? They go on this run. They win 3 in a row, beat Dallas. The tape on your hat. Miami, so on and so forth. They go to your neck of the woods, win a game this weekend, and then they lose their quarterback in the process. So now they got Buffalo coming in this weekend with the Red Rifle taking over at quarterback. So that's just a little footnote of the bigger symptom. So last week, Aaron Glenn was talking to the media, and, the media asked him, hey, are you ready to bench Justin Fields? And he went on this diatribe about, hey, a guy has a bad game. You don't bench him, you got to know better than to ask a question like that. And I don't think Justin Fields made it to halftime before he was on the bench this week. So once you make that comment, you kind of got to see it through. You know what I mean?
He took a big shot too.
Well, he did, but yeah, and so when
and
so
that
when
was that, and that would have been the second one this year because he already missed a game once because he took a big shot.
So again, I ask you, and I know I ask you this question every week. We should just make it a segment at this point.
Correct.
Is Aaron Glenn going to be on that sideline come next season?
This is an opinion I already had, but I heard it on TV, so I like to give credit. Colin Cowherd said the same thing I was thinking. You let him coach the season through because you're not going to get better this year anyway. Because most NFL games we talk about it, they're a possession anyway, they're a toss-up. You don't really have anything you can lean on that gets the coin to land in your favor anyway. So getting another coach mid-season for the second year in a row does nothing for you. Let him play out the season, negotiate a buyout or pay him his whole contract. But it's clear that it's like the team's not prepared. Too many penalties, pre-snap penalties. Either whoever is calling the offense shots, and this is unfortunate. I don't know who the offensive coordinator is.
I forgot his name, but he was the quarterback coach in Detroit last year.
Yeah, so we're just kind of just leveraging everything on Aaron Glenn. But that comes with being a rookie coach. Sometimes you might need to get an experienced guy in there to help you as a rookie head coach.
Yeah,
you could give a guy a shot. Yeah, so you could give that guy a shot by bringing him on as your quarterback coach or assistant head coach.
Passing game coordinator.
passing game, give him something like that. But you get a a Schottenheim or a Turner or a Cal.
Why
You
not
get one of
call?
these
I
names you
got a
already
name.
know
I
that can
got a
call
name. Why
plays.
not call Bobby Slowick, who should still be in Houston right now? He was the scapegoat for what was going on in Houston last year, and we still see Houston as a mess.
I mean, hell, you probably could have called like Mike McCarthy. Somebody. I know that's probably not ideal, but somebody that's been through the ringers, someone who knows how to handle the media. Granted, it was Dallas media, not New York media, but it's unfortunate that they've given up 13 points in 2 weeks and lost both games. I think it's like this never happened in like NFL history. Like I said, it's just so many things go wrong. Fumbling inside the red zone.
Oh, that catch
Ill-timed
that J.C. Horn had on that first interception. Man, and now Sauce Gardner.
Yeah, they always got holding on third down that they convert. They converted 3rd and 6, and it's a holding call. Now it's 3rd and 16, and they take a sack. So it's like this happens every week for them.
Well, now Sauce Gardner has a concussion, and you got to go play Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. So, so that's my next question. Just because I said those names, it popped into my head. Yeah. Are the Bengals making the playoffs now?
I think through attrition, these teams are going to start just kind of falling apart. Either schemes are going to start getting figured out. Like, I think Pittsburgh's, like, I don't know. I mean, I do know why Pittsburgh's not scoring points.
Yeah, he was the quarterback coach.
Their play calling.
Yeah.
So I don't think Arthur Smith is going to make Pittsburgh dynamic. They're going to have to just make the plays that are called. They're not going to do anything. Like we talked about with Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. He'll have all this motion, all this other stuff, just to get Caleb Williams on the edge and have Burton or Komet just open in the flat or deep sideline shot. Like, it looked crazy, but like, really, I did all this just for you to get these 2 reads. One of these guys is going to be open. And I don't think Pittsburgh they don't call plays that way.
And side note, real quick, Komet might be out. It looks like he has a back injury. So, we're going to finally get to see more Colston Loveland. I've been waiting for that this season. So I'm not going to ask you contender or pretender. I'm just going to ask you, are the Bears a good team now?
Yeah. You run off 4 wins in a row in the NFL, you're a good team. You put up a lot of points on Dallas because we're going to call Dallas a good team. You beat the brakes off of Dallas. You put up good points. You battle through because that was the issue I had with Caleb. I felt like everything had to go like those Dallas games where he just was hitting guys wide open and there was no adversity and he could just go up and down the field, get touchdowns or get in field goal range, kick field goals, get points, the lead. Because I just felt like if it came down to like I said, I don't really rock with Bo Nix, but shout out to Bo Nix in that scenario where, and even Jackson Dart, Bo Nix battled back, scored 33 points in the fourth, ran it, had a lot of conversions on his feet. I don't know what the Giants were doing defensively, but got a lot of conversions on his feet.
They were throwing 8 in coverage, Brian Burns.
And then even Jackson Dart, watching that lead kind of go away and then coming back out there, having a wherewithal, that the fourth down. I just don't know if Caleb Williams has that in him either way, like to give up a lead and come back out there and just like, you know what, we got it. We got this. Defense had our back all year. We're down 2. Let's get in field goal range. Let's go. I just don't know if he has that, nor do I see them down 19-0, him clawing their way back in 3 touchdown drives in a row. So I felt like everything had to be set up perfectly. And as long as they can keep playing this way, it's good to go. The Washington game, they got the turnover that helped them get in position. But, yeah, let me say they're a good team because they ran out 4 wins in a row in the NFL.
So while we're talking about the Chicago Bears real quick, I just want to take a moment and just like Spencer Rattler, I'm so sorry, bro. You were on top of the world, number 1 rated quarterback coming out of high school. This guy comes in as your backup. You have a bad game about Texas. And then he just stole your life. You know what I'm saying? He became the number 1 draft pick. You became the 4th round draft pick. He took your destiny.
He stole his whole life. It looks very similar. Uh,
I mean, it's like the
light-skinned
change-up
quarterback,
or something. Like
curly hair. Like it's
he
like
took, he took that
I know the
man's
movie
life.
Him. I haven't seen the movie Him, but I imagine it's like this dude really came in and like, what did I lose? What did I not sacrifice for him to just he won the Heisman? Because like Spencer Rattler was a Heisman front runner when Caleb Williams took over. Then he took his coach and
Went off
left.
to California, won the Heisman.
And you out in South, I mean, I'm pretty sure people love South Carolina, but being the star quarterback in Los Angeles, the USC star quarterback is probably the closest you can get to like NBA superstar level as a football player. You know, NBA superstar level is different, but being an LA quarterback, a young LA quarterback,
Took his life.
took his
You
whole
know what I mean?
life,
Like
dog.
it's just. And then last thing, of course, Thursday night football last week. The Bengals gutted it out. Joe Flacco turned back the clock. And you know what I saw when I logged on the next morning? I saw people saying that it's time for Mike Tomlin to go. And, saying, and this is probably like something that I do every year too. Mike Tomlin, why don't you just leave? They don't appreciate you. People don't recognize the value that you, and granted, the Steelers haven't won a playoff game since 2017. I know that's a thing. You got to acknowledge that. But when you look at what this guy has had to turn into wine, it just, and I'm not even a Mike Tomlin fan, but but yeah, you are. But like looking at what he has to turn into wine, it's a bit ridiculous that you think that someone like that should be gone. But big game this weekend against the Packers. Let's see what happens.
Yeah, it's tough for Mike because he's done everything you need a coach to do for your organization, except like win the big one. I mean, he has one Super
He's
Bowl.
got a Super Bowl, and he got to another one.
He got to another one, but we know how it is. What have you done for me lately? I think
what Sean McDermott
this dysfunction around all of the teams that are constantly firing and hiring and firing and hiring and firing and hiring coaches. I think the Rooneys and the Maras, the Rooneys being the Steelers owners and the Maras are like this, old English kind of like family dynamic where like you're rich, we're rich, let's marry our children. I think the Rooneys are looking at the Maras when they're at Martha's Vineyard and be like, yo, dog, why y'all keep firing and hiring these coaches? Just keep one. We still getting this check. Like we're still splitting this TV deal.
Well, I don't know. After the other day, I think Brian Daboll might have saw his job slip away.
I would.
You got to fire Bowen by now, or I think that's the defensive coordinator. You got to do something.
So yeah, somebody's gonna have to go. But yeah, Tomlin. I think Tomlin.
What happened? It's not just this game. It was the Dallas game. The Giants this season have given up 95 points in the fourth quarter. So basically 2 touchdowns a fourth quarter.
But for me, like I said, Tomlin, if he does go, he'll probably go to one of these NFC teams and end up firing a coach. I think that would be a smart move. I would get out of AFC. And for the Giants, I look at it like this. You play the rookie. They have a tough stretch where they might lose 4 of their next 5. I saw it earlier. It's like, I think they have Philly. They got a couple like tough games on the road. I think Green Bay is one of those games. It's something like they won't be favored probably in the next 5 or 6 games. They're going to look good. They have the young pieces. You're not paying the quarterback a bunch of money. Whatever money you can come off when Russell Wilson leaves and the James Winston leaves, and then you go get a viable backup like a Case Keenum or, Mark Rippon or, one of these guys, the dude with the long neck, like just a good backup. That way, the second year starter is not gonna.
You're killing me right now, man. I feel like you just took a jab at me for no reason. You gonna bring up the quarterback that last won a Super Bowl for my team?
No, I'm just saying it's his son,
Brett, which is his nephew. But Go ahead.
Yeah, my bad. Over his thing. So like, Yeah, something like, I mean, like you have, and you're gonna get a good draft pick. But I mean, with some of these teams playing so terrible, I think even at like 4-13, you might be picking eighth because it's gonna
Yeah.
be a few teams it's gonna be a lot of two and it's gonna be probably an 0-17 team
Wouldn't that be
or 1 and
crazy if
16.
wouldn't that be crazy if Tomlin ended up with the Giants? Just trade him over to the other side of the family.
Other side of the family, he just wears different colors when they're at Martha's Vineyard. That would be crazy. It would be crazy because it's like
But it makes sense.
I wouldn't want to be associated with it. I'd be like, nah, I'm not helping this other
Done with
side of the
this.
family
I'm
either.
done with
I'm out.
this family.
I'm done with this whole family. Y'all can take your billions somewhere else.
All right,
Pay me
so
my
real
check.
quick, we got Chargers hosting the Vikings on Thursday. I'm going with the Chargers. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Yeah, I go with the Chargers.
All right, so let's get to it, Mr. Logical. Pink slip season is upon us.
Ooh.
As we know, on Sunday morning for the second consecutive week.
Season. I wrote down panic season.
Yeah,
That's
there
funny.
you go. For the second week in a row, a high-profile head coach is relieved of duty. So Billy Napier is out at Florida. And no, Mike Norvell is not out. The other Norvell, Jay Norvell, out at Colorado State. Thoughts, Mr. Logical?
What are you gonna do? Like, what are you getting? I don't understand the point because the transfer portal window it opens when the coach gets fired, right? So
this year, yes.
So this current year
going forward, because they changed the rule where they have to stay until 5 days after the new coach is hired.
Yeah. So you completely disrupt the apple cart by just firing his coach midseason. You don't have enough games in college football to turn it around and make like a deep postseason run once you're already 6-7 games in. 6-7. I hate it. I don't know why to do it. But once you're already that far in, if you're 2-4, 2-5, what's the point of firing a coach just so the next guy can come in and maybe win 2 of your next 5 games?
Okay.
And you're 4-8.
Okay.
It's like, just let that guy finish out the season, and then you figure out whatever NIL transfer portal stuff at the end of the season. Because now you're juggling a mid-season search, the coach that you're going to try to bring in. Well, you can probably have somebody internally take over. You search for a new coach. He doesn't know who's staying, who plans on leaving. Mm-hmm. At least at the end of the year, when you are doing your interview and you're doing your real search and you hire a guy, he knows, all right, the talented freshman wide receiver, he's out. The guard, he's out. Dion called all these other guys, said, hey, man, y'all want to stay in Colorado? Come over to Boulder. And he took 5 or 6 guys. Like, yes, he has, the new coaching staff has all this information. Let the season play out because you're not going to benefit your team by paying a guy to not be there. We talk about it with Penn State, James Franklin. Unless they have really just 50 million chilling or a former, or like they're going to let him pull it from the Penn State endowment, or whatever.
That's just the money that they owe him. You still got to pay the new guy.
Yeah, you got to pay the new guy. And the new guy knows, you're willing to pay $49 million for a guy not the coach. Yeah, I'll take $8.5 million a year.
Yeah, because, I was looking at Florida State. We talked preseason about how big Mike Norvell's payout is. And, and at the time we had that conversation, I didn't even think about that because I'm like, hey, you might need his buyout right now is $58 million or so. So you might
I'm going to look up all the top buyouts right now.
So you might need another $50 million for the new head coach. And that's not even including the staff, probably, depending on who that coach is. So Florida obviously has their eyes on Lane Kiffin, right? Billy Napier, I think, is a good coach. I think that he just got that job too soon. He was running the Sun Belt at Louisiana. He came from the Nick Saban tree. So there was a lot of expectation just off of that. But we've seen in the NFL, right, the Bill Belichick tree, your Romeo Crennels and Charlie Weisses and people like that, they don't always come with what their mentor came with. So looking at Billy Napier, he probably needed another job in between taking the Florida job, like a starter job. James Franklin didn't go straight to Penn State. He went to Vanderbilt first and built them up. So, so as I look at Mike Norvell, to add on to that, he came from Memphis, and there was this lie that Mike Norvell was just going to become the Alabama head coach. You know what I mean? That was never going to be a thing, but his agent was able to convince Florida State to pay the money. So
that's the same agent that is convincing
James
Franklin. He
Kirby
has
Smart,
Sid Nasty, he
Dabo.
has Kirby Smart, he has Dabo. Kirby Smart, $105 million buyout. Ryan Day, $70.9 million. He's not going anywhere. Kalen DeBoer, $60.8. Another one of his guys. Steve Sarkisian, another one of his guys, $60.3. Dabo, $60. Mike Norvell, $58.7. So what we got? Dan Lanning, $56.7. Signetti, $56.7. Brian Kelly, $53.3. Matt Rule, $49.6. These guys have the ultimate ace in the hole. And these guys are solid. Florida can fire their coach because they know you can just sell the swamp to the next coach. You won't you won't be at a talent deficit. You won't be at a speed deficit. There will be a long line of players trying to come there, especially if you are a Brian Kelly, Lane Kiffin. Granted, I know Dan Lanning wouldn't do it, but if Dan Lanning were to go to Florida, like Florida knows they could just, if they get the right name, they can fill out their roster and compete next year in a very very tough conference.
And
Colorado State can't do that.
No, Colorado State can't do that, even though they are headed off to the new Pac-12 next year. Jay Norvell's out. Of course, he came to fame. He left Nevada to go to Colorado State. He came to fame with the whole Dion, it's personal, Colorado State. And of course, his henchmen went out there and took out Travis Hunter, so that's what he's known for. They went 8-5 last year, had a real easy schedule. A lot of people thought that they would make the Mountain West title game last year, but Colorado State has allegedly been a sleeping giant since I was sleeping inside of my mama. And they haven't reached that pinnacle yet. There's no reason to think that they will. I don't know if Colorado's big enough to handle
two programs anyway. It used to be where each state, you had one major program, and if you're lucky enough, you had two. And you had your pick of the talent from your state and within reason, your region. So Colorado State, all the kids from Colorado, we have the pick of the litter here because we're only two top schools. And then schools like Boise started getting good, and California high school programs started to explode in Texas. So, and then the TV money, and then, it started to spread, the recruiting, social media, and everything else. So now you can get players from anywhere. So Colorado State, if they get the wrong coach, their stadium is going to look like how Colorado looked the year before Dion got there, where you're just you're barely filling seats. You and I, we went to the Air Force Academy game when we were in NCOA in Colorado Springs. We were walking out of there like it was a high school game. It was like no security. We were parked on the grass. But then when they started making their runs and they're winning 7, 8, 9, 10 games, and they're getting guys drafted and guys are winning, awards defensively and, in consideration for offensive awards, your stands fill up. But that takes a while.
Luckily, Colorado State, their stadium only seats 36,500. It can get up to 41,000, but
they'll do Coastal Carolina and give out free tickets and free hot dogs.
They might have to. So, Mr. Logical, on top of that, we got Vanderbilt fresh off a win against LSU at number 10 in the nation. And to boot, they're hosting College Game Day this weekend.
About time.
What are we living in right now? What is happening?
This is the positive effect of the NIL and the transfer portal. I know we get nothing but war stories, but let's keep it real. A lot of these new coaches we heard of, they used the transfer portal when they brought their guys from their previous school to their new school. Well, that also works if you're a single player and you're just like, hey, I want to go to the school because they have a needed quarterback. I think I can fill that need. So I think this is what we're getting. We're getting that the parity that we want, at least that I want. I like parity. You and I talk about it that college sports fans don't like parity. College football fans don't like it at all. College basketball fans like it in the first 2 rounds of the NCAA tournament for the sake of their bracket busters, but then they want to go back to your standard Arizona, Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Louisville, whomever in the rest of the tournament. They don't want George Mason in the Final Four. They don't want Iowa, compete for a national championship. They want you to be cool for your 13 seed to beat that 4 just so they could beat the bracket against their friends. College football, they flat out do not want a Cinderella. They hate it. They treat it as if the teams don't also play football, like the way people treated Boise State for all these years. It's like they couldn't compete in the SEC. Yeah, they don't have to. Everybody doesn't have to go through the SEC to be a good football team. So now Vandy competing in the SEC, what they gonna say now?
What they gonna say now?
What they gonna say now?
Vanderbilt, they struck gold. Clark Lee, their head coach, is a Vanderbilt alumnus. So, somebody that actually believes in the school. But now, obviously, with that being said, I expect his name to come up with all these jobs. So,
he's gonna run.
Yeah, and I don't know how much alma mater.
He's gonna run to Gainesville.
Well, I don't know if they're gonna call him, but Virginia Tech might call him. Maybe if Shane Beamer leaves, maybe South Carolina calls him. But hey, I've been watching this crazy talk for the last couple of weeks. People on X, like complaining about where College Game Day is. It's only at the SEC stadiums. Well, of course, they manage the SEC. They have that contract. But even with that being said, like, do people actually watch College Game Day depending on where they are?
No,
is that
it's not even. Listen, people don't care where it is because personally, I have a podcast with you. You love college football. I'm not up at 7:00 in the morning waiting for these fans to be out there with their funny signs. It's cool. I check the clips on Twitter, but it's like I want to see the football games. Yeah,
even when I was living in Alaska, what I'm saying, I had to wake up at 5 in the morning to watch College Game Day, and it was a religion.
And it's fun watching the people kick the ball through the uprights, and it's all good. But people, I'm speaking general now, they just want the superstar name. They want Nike, Jordan, Adidas, Under Armour. They want brands, Bama, Georgia, LSU, maybe USC because of the history. They throw in a couple of the Florida teams, Florida State, Miami, because of the history, Notre Dame, the history of the helmets, the lore, the all their favorite players went to one of these schools. Give you Texas because it's just Texas football. Like people want those games. Right now was next week. What's their matchup? Vandy and Missouri. Top 10, top 15 teams in the country. They play like it. They're competing like it. They're in, arguably the best conference in football. We talk about how many NFL players come out of this conference. So if these guys are playing at that level at this conference, why not get them on TV? Oh, because it's not Texas. It's not one of these brands. And it's like, that doesn't even matter to your entertainment. Is the game going to be good? That's all that should matter.
I know some of the talk was that Game Day should go to Memphis and South Florida this weekend, but obviously Memphis didn't want it because they went out here and lost to UAB. But so you remember earlier
Vandy in the top 10 for the first time in like 177 years. I think that's worth. They played some good games. They won some good games. They won some big games over the last couple of years. They have a personality at quarterback that you can market and you can put out there. They have a story. That's what college game day is. So yeah.
So earlier I had you guess the whole Chiefs Raiders thing.
Correct.
So I'm gonna read you a quick stat. I just want you to tell me the team. Tell me the team that accomplished this. So we got an 18-play drive that went 48 yards, 11 minutes and 44 seconds off the clock with a missed field goal.
This sounds like Tennessee.
It was Army.
Oh.
It was Army. James Franklin, he had his interview on College Game Day. I saw some clips. They didn't really ask him anything. They didn't press him, but I just brought that up to say Todd McShay really hates James Franklin for some reason. Like over the last couple of weeks, Todd McShay has just been going nuts. And I mean, even after the James Franklin interview, he's talking about, just like I thought, the selfishness, the agenda. And I'm like, damn, what? I didn't know Todd McShay and James Franklin had.
Because Todd McShay, he had Drew Aller as a potential number 1 pick. And he has to reevaluate that.
Franklin made him look bad.
So Franklin made him look bad. Because he was like, if you look at Drew, because I saw a clip when he was talking about Drew Aller. Drew Aller was supposed to be the guy. It was Nussmeier, Drew Aller, I think Lenore Sellers, and then Arch Manning. That was a conversation leading up to the draft this year when Cam Ward went number 1 overall, and it was like, who's going to be the guy next year? And like those are some of the names that were getting kind of ping ponged around. And Drew Aller is supposed to be the guy. Like you said, they were 1 play away from national championship game, big quarterback, Penn State, the allure, all of that stuff. And then Todd McShay was like, I have to like reevaluate Drew Aller.
Right.
That's his beef with James Franklin.
And
his guessing game of picking players is a house of cards.
Yeah, there's some random things before we get out of here real quick. Houston, the Cougars, 6-1 on the season, got a big game with Arizona State this weekend. They were my surprise Big 12 team. I had them going 8-4. We'll see what happens. Like clockwork, I tried to tell Mr. Logical a couple of weeks ago. Once October starts, the Terps stop. You know what I mean? So 10-7, 10-7 loss out at UCLA last weekend. And speaking of UCLA, I talked about College Game Day. Big noon Saturday is going to UCLA at Indiana. So big game there. UCLA 3-1 in the Big Ten. Didn't even win an out-of-conference game. I'm just saying there might be something magical going on.
UCLA about to be the Kansas this year, going on this crazy run where
they're just
beating top-tier teams out of nowhere.
So Bill O'Brien, 1-6 after losing to UConn this weekend. 1-6. And, of course, we talked about it the other day, how he chased Castellanos out of town. But, whatever. Here's a quick question for you, Mr. Logical. So Texas Tech.
Yeah.
They fell 7 spots. So they were number 7 last week going into their game at Arizona State.
Correct.
They went in there with their backup quarterback. Arizona State scored the game-winning touchdown with 34 seconds left. Worthy of a 7-drop fall or 7-fall drop?
When you're not in the SEC, it's a coin flip.
How about the Hurricanes, Mr. Logical?
They go from 2 to...
they lost to Louisville by 3 at home. Mario Cristobal with one of his gems. Obviously, I put that on upset alert last week.
Rightfully so.
And because I picked Louisville to go to the ACC championship game. Cade Klubnik did not play. Cannot speak. Cade Klubnik did not play this weekend. And, Clemson lost another game. So now they're under 500. Texas A&M, and I'm making a declaration right now. They're going down to LSU this weekend. It's a night game. Brian Kelly, 17-1 at night at LSU. If A&M wins that game on Saturday, I'm going to throw this pen away. I'm going to pull out a pencil, and I'm going to put them in Atlanta. You know what I'm saying? Like for the SEC championship game. And of course, I had
Brian Kelly in Happy Valley.
Oh, okay. There you go. I had A&M in the playoffs this year, so I'm feeling good about that. Mark Stoops, by the way, you know what I'm saying? I always talk about how he should take over Iowa when Kirk Ferentz retires. And of course, he is a Iowa, he went to Iowa, you know what I mean? And he coaches football as if he's still at Iowa. And I'm going to give you this here in a second. Pause. You know what I mean? Of course, they hosted the Longhorns this weekend. They outplayed the Longhorns in damn near every stretch of the football game, except for play calling, because in overtime they decided to hand the ball to the running back on 4th and goal from the 2, and my dude tried to jump from the 4. He was watching those Air Jordan videos, flying through the air from the free throw line.
College football is one of those, like, they have such an advantage with the hash marks. Because it's so wide, you could set your second down play up to go to this far hash. It's like, listen, if we don't get this, coming back on 3rd down, most teams are playing with right-handed quarterbacks. Let's get a bootleg, open space. I think the hash marks are probably, like I said, in a college football field, probably like 52.5 yards wide. It's probably like 12 yards off the side. So you got like 40 yards to get to the other. Like it's just a weird, like the NFL is it's probably a little bit more balanced. I think it's closer in, and like they're close to each other. The college hash marks are like so far off that you can set your plays up to where now I get a speed guy on the edge on like a jet sweep or a toss, something like that. And like it's a lot of ground to cover for the defense who has to come all the way from this other side to be. So I just don't know why they don't set it up that way, but trying to jump from the 4 is just some Reggie Bush stuff, and it's like it's not for everybody.
Before I go any further, did you see the score of the Texas-Kentucky game?
27-23?
Okay, now that is not the score, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to give you stats. You tell me what the final score was. So Texas won the game in overtime. So take that into consideration. Ready? All right. Kentucky held Texas to 5 for 16 on 3rd down.
Okay.
Total yards, Kentucky 395, Texas 179. Passing yards, Kentucky 258, Texas 132. Rushing yards, Kentucky 137, Texas 47. Kentucky had 3 penalties. Texas had 7. What was the final score of the game?
It sounds like it should have been like 28-17 Kentucky. From those numbers, they doubled them up in so many important categories. It went to overtime. So was it 23-17? I thought I saw it. I remember I saw like
Texas won that game 16-13.
That's what I had my numbers mixed up.
Iowa. That is Iowa all the way. Like it was just like the Georgia game. Remember last year when we were talking about, hey, he punted from his own, from their 39 and all that. Like it was just they didn't even play. It felt like Kentucky didn't even play until the 4th quarter. Like their plan was, we're gonna keep you right here and then we're gonna turn it on, even though we could have probably put this game away.
Coaches, I think coaches do psych themselves out to where they don't want to make a mistake, but you still have to be able to have a game plan to capitalize on your execution. You got to be able to execute versus just like, I don't want to make a mistake here. So it's 4th and 1, and I think we got a good play that could work, but let's just punt it and be safe. It's like, sometimes being a little reckless and, winning that money on the craps table and stacking it back up and letting it ride.
Feast of famine. Season is over. Kentucky season's over anyway. Like, put your nuts on the table. But with that being said, we will be back on Thursday to give you weekend picks. Hopefully, this is the worst picks week of my life. So definitely got to try to get off the mat for this one. But be sure to tune in tomorrow night for our NBA season preview to include picking our NBA champion. He is the world-famous, world-renowned, cool, calm, and collected. Born in Texas, raised in VA, representing New Jerusalem, and he still thinks that Ransom is your favorite rapper's favorite rapper. He is Mr. Logical. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
And kick Greg Schiano out of New Jersey. And then, of course, down here in the Alamo, I
can recruit my boys, though.
Statistician going left so much you thought I was southpaw. Tank Davis better be looking out, for Jake Paul's right hand. I am 2-5. I do believe in Joe Hendry. This is Sports Reports Disorder. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things with a liquid death in your hand. And if all you got is regular water, get you some liquid death hydration. We are everywhere that you get your podcasts. Check us out.
Happy birthday, Ava.
Happy birthday, Ava. Thanks for joining us. We love y'all so much.
Sports reports, no gimmicks, no clowns. 2-5, Mr. Logical, we run this town. Real talk only, no chasing, no doubt. From the east to the west, it's the order we shout. Mic check, lights flash, game time, stay ready. 2 vets in the zone.